Hey guys, welcome. My name is George Nassa. Today what I'm going to show you is how to make a three-sided model. So we're going to play with, a few different ideas, so hopefully you enjoy. So we're going to start with a new project, and we could rename this to, any name you like. So let's save it as, and let's call this three-sided model. So we'll know the difference and save. So we have this. Now we're going to click on model, create rotary axis, and let's call this top. Okay, and whatever size you choose, pick that. And give it a few minutes to open up. Okay, so now we're gonna go to our page. Please, you cannot skip any of those steps. So I'm gonna try to go as slow as I can. Okay, so first we make sure on the front relief. So I'm gonna do something very quick. I'm gonna draw a box here. Okay, F9 to center, and we're gonna raise this F12. So give this a height. Let's do this 3, just for the sake of demonstrations. Okay, we don't need a ring that thick normally. Okay, so you can see it here. All right, now you can make it any shape you want by using the side profile here, but just let's keep it circle just to, so you can see how quick we can do this. So right click here, right in the gray area, go to gem. So let's move it down here so you can see it. So this is the gem area. So this is the gems here. So we're gonna go to this area here. This icon is called Pave Wizard. So it's gonna open up. So let's bring this here. Okay, and we're gonna select. So we're gonna go by these options. You could do honeycomb, or we could do linear. So let's just keep it on linear. Stone diameter. You could do the stone diameter. Let's do 2, and you want the beads in between them. So let's say 0.05. And gap between 0.1, you could change that if you like, but that's fine. Okay, so what we want selected vector, so which is this. Okay, and we're gonna say create. Okay, you can see all these are created according to our values here. So now before we do anything, don't escape. So you're gonna say trim. So it's gonna only keep the stuff in the center. Okay. So now you have a few options. You see how the beads already created. Created and selected. So we can select the stones by selecting stones. Only selects the stones. And we're gonna right click and group them. And we're gonna select the beads, which is selected the beads. Right click and group them. Okay. The beads are kind of small. Okay. So let's say if we picked out bigger beads, the beads will be much bigger and so forth. Okay. So just to go over it just one more time so you guys get an idea of it. So let's go here. Let's make these beads a little bigger and make these cones. So let's go back to the wizard. All right. So let's make the bead 0.80 and 2 millimeter. Let's say the gap. Keep everything the same. Say create. So that just one that looks good. So Control Z to get rid of it. So make sure you select the vector now. Okay. Then you say create. Yeah, that looks much better. So let's do trim. Now we have the beads already selected. Okay, right click and group them. And now we're going to say select the stones. Right click and group them. Okay, so now that looks way better. So we can close this, we don't need it. Okay, now we could add a little bit we could sink these in a little bit if we need to give it a nice pave look. So we could just go like on the outside. We could make a little rim here, F9S. So as long as you're inside, the white, you're good. Anything outside there, nothing's gonna happen to it. So it's only gonna see what's inside that. Okay. So we're gonna sink this down. We're gonna subtract it by pressing F12. Okay. We're gonna subtract this. Okay. Let's do 0.50. Let's look at it. Okay. That's what it looks like. Apply and cancel. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna, before we do this, we're not gonna add any stones. We could add our gems right now if we need to. So we have to convert them all to actual stones, but I'm gonna do it much easier. So that way we're not converting this by using this tool here. Create, I'm sorry, this one, convert vector to gems. I mean, if you want, we could just do it that way, or we could just do it from the another option. So let's add it. Let's do this by converting, but then we have to. I'll show you how it works. So you're gonna create. So the width it's already selected because get from size from vector. We're gonna select it, and everything here is gonna turn red. Okay. So it might take a few minutes. Okay. See how all the gems turn red now? So now we could put our gems in there. So we're gonna select them all. Anything that's gem. Hold the shift key down so you actually select most of them. Okay, then we're going to go back to the gem here, create gem. We're going to select it, and we're going to get it from start height, or you're going to lay it on relief. But if you punch holes in here, you won't be able to use this option. So let's just look at it here, see what happens. We're going to say lay on relief. Okay, there's all that gems are there, so accept that. And you don't need this anymore, you can close it. Okay, what we're going to do right now, we're going to take this, we're going to add it to the project. So we're going to create a mesh. Okay, close with the flat plane and create. Takes a few seconds. If you have a faster computer, this will be done much faster. Alright, so that's going to remain just top. Okay, so let's make this capital so we can see it. We're going to add it. Okay, so close this one. So this is the actual relief here. We don't need this, and this is everything's in there. So let's shut this. We don't need it. Let's shut this and turn this back on. Okay, so there's our ring. Now we need the prawns in there. So what we're going to do, that's why we created. So there's our gems. Okay, so let's close the gems down, but keep them lit. So what we're going to do, we're going to use these prawns instead of doing them one by one, or I could just raise them and add them. But I want to show you how you could add them. The reason I did that, because I didn't do it now, because later if you have a really high ring, these are going to get distorted. So that way you could just paste them on there and they're going to look perfect no matter what the height is. Okay, so I'm giving you different options to add prawns to it. So let's lock this here in place. So we're going to go to the assembly. Okay, we're going to go here to this component library, and under primitives we're going to bring in a prawn or cylinder. So let's add, you can do these spheres here, you can create your own and bring it in. So let's say this cylinder here, so this is diameter 1 millimeter, so let's make, doesn't matter, so the height is 3, so let's make this a height no more than let's say 75. Okay, and we're gonna import. So now we have this here. So we're gonna go to this cylinder. Let's rename this. Okay, call this prawn, so we'll know. And we're gonna paste this all over this here. Okay, so by selecting the actual prawns on here. Okay, so when this is here, we're gonna go to this tool here. Okay, we're gonna select it. Before you say okay, make sure this is selected and make sure your vectors that where you want the prawns are selected. So that means these ones here. Then you could say okay. Only once. It's going to put all the prawns in there for you. Okay, make sure you close it. So now paste all the prawns. And let's close the big prawn one. We don't need it anymore. But you can see how nicely it put all the prawns on there. Okay, you could make them a little shorter if you want, but this is pretty nice right there. But that's the only reason you would do this, because if the ring was really thick here, everything would get distorted. If you try, you would have to correct the vectors like I showed in previous tutorials. But that's much easier that way. You have all the prawns put on there, just by one click. Okay, so that looks pretty good so far. So that's, now we're gonna keep that as is. So we're gonna go down back to the model, and we're gonna select another model here. So let's go model here. Okay, we're gonna go to this tool here, create 3-axis blank, and we're gonna call this side and accept it. That is the same, update it, that's fine. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, it's opening the page that we're gonna draw rings on the side. Okay, so let's we don't need this guy here, let's get rid of him. Okay, so let's go back to our page. I'm not sure where that tool to kick that in went. Just move it in a little bit just to get it out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to work on this page. While we're still in assembly, make sure only the piece that you want to work on is in the actual project. If there's other pieces, everything's going to come in. So only work on the piece that you want. Okay. So if you only want to work here, you could actually unselect the prawns and the gems if you don't want them. Okay. You can get rid of so they don't show. The gems are fine. You can leave them the way they are. And we're going to go to this tool here. It says merge assembly. All right. So just to look at it, but you only need to do prawns. So we're going to go. So let's say if you bring this in, for example, I'm going to show you what happens. You're going to see the actual relief. And this is good to have if you want to build skins, which is another way to do it. The three-sided model. See, it's going to create an actual relief for us here. So we could draw on there. Okay, you can see that's showing you the side profile. So if you put actual designs and so forth, but the only problem with that is, I'll show you if I shut this down. You can see it brought in the whole thing and it's ugly on one side. So that's why you would have to minus all this from the back relief, get rid of it all. So that way you only work with just the skin, just the front. So you can kind of, apply it to the side. So just for this sake of the tutorial, I'm only going to add prawns to this one. Okay, so we're going to put prawns here. So let's draw a little circle in the center. Okay, so let's put them right there. That's in the middle. And we're going to paste stones here, then we're going to do prawns. Okay, so let's do, well, we could measure here, see if this is good size right there. That looks pretty good. So we're going to paste this all the way around. So let's say 35 pieces here. That's too much. Control Z. So let's do 30 and paste. I mean, they're a little tight, but that's pretty good. I mean, it wants you to put your gems in there. Okay, so that's good. So now we're going to put our beads on there as well. Okay, so we got a few ways we could do. We could draw them this way, or we could just do the same thing and bring them up. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Hold the shift key down, select this line that we drew, and paste another 30 copies. Okay, and do another 30. So we're going to go on the inside of it. Okay, so select these, right click and ungroup them, and we're going to move this. I could move them all at once, or I could just bring them in one at a time, or could push them all out. So Control Z, okay, and Control Z again, press T, and you could adjust them to actually fit where the prawns are and rotate them. So this will rotate them, okay, and you could open them up so they line up with the actual on the relief here. Okay, so they look good. You could use copy, rotate, and so forth, but these are different ways using, the tools. Okay, so this is good. Let me get rid of these. So that's one. Then we're going to do the same thing on the inside here. So let's do same thing. So, or we could actually, if we need to, I will just draw a line here and I will just leave it right there. Okay. So if I put my line here, so that these need to be moved a little bit, so I can rotate and press T, and you can just rotate them just a hair. Okay. Computer doesn't like me today. Okay. So we're gonna take this here, and we're gonna hold the Shift key down, select the line that we drew, and we're gonna paste. And let's say we do 30 again, and we could rotate this. Hopefully, it will land on there. Okay. So let's select them. Press T. Okay. Close this out of the way. Let's park this guy here, so we have a little bit more room. Okay. And we're gonna rotate it so they fit right between. Okay. So you can see them, they all lined up nicely. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna select these gems here. We could actually add the gems, do the same exact thing, repeat what we did earlier by right clicking and bring in the gems and convert these into actual gems. Or we could just paste the gems on there. So let me just show you another option. We're gonna go back to the assembly. We're gonna go under gems, and any size gem, bring it in. I mean, keep it within reason. You don't want 11, that's too big. So let's do 3 by 3 by 2. Okay, and accept it. So now it brought in a gem for us. Okay, let's turn this back on so we can see it. Okay, there's our gem. So if you want to get rid of this, so you can see this is the gem what we want. So you're only going to select just this gem. Make sure it's on. Make sure it's on, not off. And we're going to go to this side here. We're going to select all these. So let's lock this. We're going to go to the same tool. We're going to select it while our gems are selected. We're going to say OK. So you can see it created our gems. Close this. Okay. So we're going to go back here. Make sure you select just the brilliant copy here. See, these are the gems. And we're going to go to this here, to the nudge tool. And we're going to rotate it. We might have to play with it. Let's rotate it in X. Make sure it's world center. So let's see where this one's going to put us. Right. So let's try Y. Okay. Here we go. So now we rotate it in Y, so that gives us, there's our gems. We could shut this here. We don't need it. Now we have our gems on the sides. So all we're gonna do now, we're gonna copy these gems over to the other side. So go to this icon, home. We're gonna go to this tool, mirror, and make sure it's on Y, Z right here, and say apply. So that should give us a copy on the other side here. So now this is our gems. Okay. So now we have the ring on top, and let's turn back our prawns, turn them back on here. Okay. And we could add the actual prawns on the outside as well. So we're gonna do that right now. Okay. So we're gonna do the same thing, same exact prawn, but we can keep it the same size. We'll bring in another one. So this is the prawn. Make sure it's on. Okay. Select the prawn. We're gonna select all the little prawns here. One, and hold the Shift key down. Select the bottom prawn. Let's lock this so it doesn't go back in. The prawn selected. Our prawns are selected. Same exact tool, and say OK. There's our prawns. So close this. Okay, these are all of the prawns here. So the prawn copy here. Select that. You can see them, they're all selected. So we're going to go to the nudge tool. We do it in Y, world center, and we're going to angle, which is 90 degrees. And that should put our prawns in place. You can see them all landed there. And then we're going to go back to the home, and we're going to mirror and make sure it's YZ, and we're going to say apply. Okay, so that should give us another copy on the other side. Okay, so there's our prawns. So go back home. Let's shut this prawn, we don't need it. Okay. And this shows all our prongs, and it shows the top and the bottom and so forth, and that gives us a complete three-sided model. And that way you can show it to the customer. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to punch this in a little bit, you would have to create skins, and I'll make another tutorial just to show you what that looks like and so forth. So let's go here, and let's give this a nicer look. So let's give it a little spin here. Okay, make sure you select this and hold the control key down, and while you're holding the left mouse button, swipe it gently, or you could go fast, whichever way you want. So it depends how fast you want it to go. So I would adjust it, repeat, and you can see how it moves around. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching again.